Welcome back to Without a Doubt the podcast, a podcast for those women, girlies, or truly any gender that doesn't necessarily fit the mold. We're those who speak our minds, live our lives out loud, create our own paths, and without a doubt know who we are meant to be. I'm your girl Mad, your host, and your new sprinkle of reality. I'm here to remind you that it's okay to live life different, and that you don't have to be what is expected of you, that your happiness matters. And yes, even us baddies who know this about ourselves need this reminder. You made it back this week. Thank you so much. I double dosed last week with 2 episodes back to back, my intro and then my second one called Stay in Your Lane. Every week I'll be dropping new episodes on Wednesdays, so make sure you're following along wherever you get your podcasts. And if you can leave a review or comment, even better. Thanks so much. I'm still not even sponsored, so if you're looking to grow, collab, market whatever you're selling, send me a message on itsyourgirlmad@gmail.com and let's talk. I gotcha. I'll also link it below so that you know where to find it. On this episode, we are talking about hype girl support and how sometimes being a hype girl is hard. Sometimes there's comparison and feelings of jealousy that sometimes seem to creep in. Even when you're in your moment, you're happy, doing well, these things still seem to come up. I'm also going to share some different tips and advice on what to do when comparison feels like it's at an all-time high, how to find your hype girl support squad, and how to cope when your friends are succeeding if you're not. I'm going to get real nitty-gritty about some relationships, friendships, and other things that don't necessarily serve you or me, or things that leave you feeling less. We're going to talk about that stuff. Talking about how to be the hype girl and finding your people is all about what this episode is. So let's dive right in and let's get started. I think a lot of people think that a hype girl, no doubt, is someone who supports you like until the end. But sometimes you can clap for people and still be proud of them and happy even when your life is falling apart. Someone can put your insecurities aside, self-doubts, when you see someone else accomplishing something else more than what you have. That's a true hype girl. You can clap for them, you can mentor someone, you can give advice without any transactional motive. And truly, you're happy for them. But can you be this person and still have insecurities and jealousy? I truly believe it happens. And yes, it's true. You can be happy, a hype girl, and support your friends because when they're your friends, you will want the most for them. Other times I see people really struggling in life with the hype girl support is when you're seeing your friends that are progressing, they're getting better jobs, careers, and maybe you're still doing whatever you've been doing. Like your friends start making more money and they want to go out to nicer restaurants. I mean, you're happy and excited, but maybe you just can't do that. You're happy they got the promotion, but maybe you're jealous because you're not at that level. It does happen. Those feelings can creep up. And I think sometimes you might be having these feelings, or we do have those feelings because of our own insecurities, past history, whatever trauma we have, fear of loss, or even fear of missing out. Like, we're not going to be able to have those experiences. Why not me? Like marriage or buying a house, finishing school, promotions, blah, blah, blah. That entire social timeline where we're expected to follow what, like when you don't feel like you're following the timeline, school, marriage, great kids, jobs, etc. But everybody's timeline is different. I think the jealousy and comparison thing really hits hard in this part of like figuring out when you hit like that 20s to 30 range. I see it mostly. I talk about my brother a lot on this because we are 5 years apart and I feel he's going through a lot of the same thought process I might have had in my 20s. My best coworker, she was maybe 5 or 6 years older than me. She was closer to like 30, I guess, at the time. And she had just closed a business and she was going back to school. She's like still always in my head, but she used to always say timelines don't matter. Like it just does not matter. Your timeline is meant for you. Where you're going and what you're doing is like where you're meant to be. I'm 33, I'm unmarried, I have no real job, no kids, and my life is still valuable and worth living. I can still provide value on this planet without having all of those boxes checked. And I think, we think as we get older, that comparison, like, I don't have that checked, I don't have a house, I don't have a career. It's like, who said you have to have those? Like, you don't need to have those. And the comparison and jealousy to your friends comes into play because you see people advancing maybe when you're stuck. And I talk about this because I see this with my brother, but I've also experienced these feelings. I see people getting married. I'm not married. I've never really wanted that, but sometimes in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe Kendra and I should just go and elope and like, so I can say I did it, because People always like, wow, you've been together 8 years. Like that comparison, like, well, yeah, you've only been together for 2 and I've been together for 8. Like, should we be married? And it's like, no, your human experience is what is important to you. So make sure that you're living out your truest feelings of those. The comparison and jealousy are bound to erupt. You just have to know how to navigate it when they come. The only timeline that you actually need to follow is your timeline to happiness. And if that's what you're doing, make sure you're doing whatever the fuck you need to do to make your soul shine, okay? And now this is where we get lost in our sauce. When we see everybody doing the things like I mentioned, the getting married, having the kids, we're like, dang, I'm behind. Like, you're not behind. You're not the last in your group. Maybe you are, but that does not mean you're behind. It doesn't mean that you're late. Like, it just means that you're working on you and where you need to be at that time. We can easily develop these feelings like, why am I not there yet? Or why don't I have that? But when you get that stuff and when you're open, like, you'll get to that stuff when you're ready and it's meant for you. It's not your timeline to follow what other people are doing on their timeline and their success. If you're feeling stuck or jealous, there's more you can do to fill your life with things that'll make you feel happy or bring you joy. The concrete timelines, the stamps, they just don't matter. And these comparisons of what your friends have should fade. The hype girl should come alive. It should be there. Sometimes in order to get rid of these feelings of comparison and jealousy, you're going to have to dig really deep inside and think about where you've come from and where you're going and where you are now. Can you compare yourself and your version of the past to the present and what you're focusing on in your future? I say this all the time, but you get to create your dream life. And that is the coolest thing about being you and being a human on this planet. You get to create it. I recently saw a post about being a lover girl, and I love this. It's basically like my new version of the hype girl. And I think it's like all of those girls on Instagram that are hearting your posts and your selfies, and maybe they don't always write to you and they do these things, but you know that they're there. I do have a handful of these people as well. I also have a lot of silent lovers, and I think silent lovers. We all have silent lovers, silent people who are watching, but the lover girls, the people who are showing out and reminding you that your light is bright. Thank you if you are one of these. And if you're not one of these, you know, the silent people out in this world, you guys have to remind these people that they have a light. If you see something in someone, you have to hype them up. This is part of what we do as people, humankind, is give back to one another. In order to fill your cup, you have to pour out of your cup. That water in your cup that you haven't moved around is stagnant and algae because you're not giving anything to anybody. Pour it out. Let's refresh. Get some new blood. Get some new magic filled into your cup so that you can pour more magic out of yours. I truly believe in the cup thing and filling it up to refill and give more. It means everything, and you have to do it. Be more of a lover girl. Like more posts. Tell more people that their outfits are cute when you're out at the grocery store, and be more of a light on this planet versus thinking, wow, why is she eating that? Or why are they doing that? Because I think it's easier to hate than it is to love. Being a lover girl is really hard. That comparison, the jealousy, all of these things equate into the hype girl thing, make it really tough. So I get it. I'm here, but let's be better. So lover girl, hype girl squad, unite. I also want to bring up some cool things about finding this hype girl and support squad. Like, it's not always easy to find this, right? Because sometimes, like we keep saying, the jealousy, that comparison trickles on in, swirls on in, muddies up the water. But if you can find someone who's doing something similar to you and working on similar goals, like not the same exact ones as you, but kind of the same things, you can become an accountability buddy towards your success and theirs. We're going to talk more about accountability on another episode, probably episode 5. So make sure you're subscribed for this. But I think more of these things coincide. I want to give my girl Emily from Chicago a huge shout out. She's a huge motivator. She's mostly the reason why I decided to hit this podcast solo. I was her guest on her podcast, which she is launching, and she's become my Instagram BFF. Now, do you have an Instagram BFF? I'm not exactly sure how Emily even met, but we've been following each other for maybe over a year and a half, maybe 2. And Emily and I just kind of like each other's content and comment. And I'm not sure how we got here, but we have each other's phone numbers now. We've never met in real life. And We've never met in real life yet. We have each other's phone numbers and we do regularly text each other, like literally clap in support for each other. She will send me messages like, she's the reason why I've been able to edit my podcast. She like literally guided me to get started. Shout out to @empowered self-care. I'll tag this below. She's been my number one hype girl on Instagram and friend. She even turned my post notifications on so she doesn't miss when I put new posts. And then she'll like send me a message like, I'm seeing everything you're doing, but I'm pregnant right now and I'm not really busy, but I just want to let you know, keep going. Like, that hype girl support is everything sometimes. I want to quit more times than I can even mention, you know? One hype girl sometimes is all you need, and it might not even be someone you know in real life, but I do think it's important to find somebody. I have a few of these in real life too, but they're not considered my family, and they are friends. Family, yes, they are supposed to be your hype girls, but you need real friends. Let's talk about how to be the hype girl. One, you need to prep. You know, like, I hate to say it, hype girl, cheer squad, same thing. Like, cheer squads don't walk out unrehearsed on the field to support their football teams, right? They practice routine after routine, and they know every single drill, even for everything. When the team is losing, they know what they gotta say. Given that, at some point, you're gonna need some encouragement and reassurance. Like, you need to make sure that you know what to do to pick up your moods. You need to know who to message, who's going to make you feel better, or podcast or something. You need to make sure you find someone who you can reach out to without judgment, or someone who can give you a burst of inspiration when you need to feel different. Like, find someone that's going to light that motherfucking inspiration up for you. Make a list of songs or videos and books that maybe trigger a positive mindset for you. And then move further away from fear and worry. Like, let these people give you good mindset, right? Number 2, affirmations and mantras. Create your own. Use them, write them down, put them up, and just fucking make them yours, okay? And number 3, make sure you're investing in yourself. Find things that can teach you new things while you keep investing in your toolbox so that you can build your confidence. Like, keep learning. This is how you create it. 4, you also need to make sure that the people you're hyping up are reciprocating the same support back. Here's the deal. I used to do triathlons, and I had a friend who would race with me. We were usually in the same group, maybe a few years apart, and she would usually beat me by like a place or two. I would be on the bike portion, and she would just bike right on by me, and she would be like, hey. And I was always excited for her. I knew she was coming. I would be waiting for her to pass me, but I always beat her out of the swim part. She was a stronger cyclist and had a bike that gave her a little bit of a boost. But yeah, I know that's a thing, I know. But I never felt jealous that she would hit podium or get a better time because I usually felt like I gave it my all. I was usually 100% proud of me, and my friend was the girl that liked the front. She used to ride the fastest. That wasn't me. I wasn't there to always be first in triathlons. I was usually there just to experience it for me. It was usually easy for me to think like, how come she's faster and fitter than me? We're the same age-ish. We're the same body type. Like, it never bothered me that she passed me. I think genuinely we were both really happy for one another. We were each other's hype girl during that time. But I think like I never felt jealous that she would get the podium or whatever, her time was faster, because I usually gave it my all. I was usually proud of how far I had gotten, how much faster my times had been. Maybe it was just hot. And my friend's idea of racing was being at the front, being first, doing those things. Like, I had to realize that like being the fastest, it wasn't for me. That's not me, but that was what was for her. It was her experience. And sometimes I think we forget that like you want to be first, you want to be the fastest, or you want to start comparing, but you have to remember that experience is not your experience. And you have to step back and think about, why are you truly here and what is your purpose for doing that? And I think for me, when I was doing triathlons, it was just for me to get moving. I never intended to start doing triathlons to podium. So when I started getting there, having my hype girl, my friend that was doing these in podium, she was just like the benefit and mentor for me. So I think I will always think about like that. Like, it was all about me, but there were all these other people competing for the same times and things. But it was an individual thing. It's easy to compare and think, oh, she was fitter than me, but I was living my own experience. So comparison just kind of doesn't fit the case all the time. Hype girls is really hard because you want to be the best sometimes, and you have to accept that it's great to have friends that are the best at other things. You cannot be the best at everything. And having friends that are great at doing things, or other people that you know in your collection of friends that are great at things, is just going to level you up to be a better human. You know all these people, they can teach and they can make you grow. I think that's what my friend was in triathlon for me. She helped me become a faster racer because she pushed me to want to get on the podium. She's like, "Man, you're so close. Like, you were right here. Like, how could we quicken this up?" And that made me get on the podium. And she helped build my confidence for sure. So I think it's great to find these people in whatever thing you're doing, triathlons, working out, jobs, getting into podcasting, whatever. Okay, so let's talk about how to be the hype girl. One, you need to prep yourself, okay? Cheer squads do not walk out unrehearsed onto the fields. They go to practice every day after school or whatever times of the week, and they are practicing their cheers, routines, dance, and whatever drills so that they can represent who they are, but also cheer on who needs to be cheered, whatever sport it is, They are literally working on whatever they need to become that hype girl squad. Cheerleaders, hype girls, kind of the same thing. In order to be the hype girl, you've got to be ready. Prepare that brain, work that mind, and just overall try to be a feel-good person. I do work on this really hard. Try to be positive. I try to share my light. I know low moods happen, but you have to learn how to recognize these things. Like, without judgment, you just need to find a little burst of inspiration or something that makes you feel good in order to bring more light into this world. Like listening to music, whatever that is, find a book, podcast, like things that'll trigger positive mindset versus bringing you back into like that dark hole, like to further you away from those meh feelings. Number 2, you have to have affirmations and mantras. Like, create them, make some of your own. If you think this is silly, write them down, put them in your bathroom, repeat them out loud to yourself. I don't care, but just make them yours. And let's go into number 3. Invest in yourself. Find things to teach you things. Invest in your toolbox. Keep learning. Why? Because the more you can invest in yourself, the more that's going to create confidence. If you can master a new skill or a new trick, you will probably find something like in that day to give you a little sprinkle of happiness, but it's going to give you some confidence. Like, it's going to help give you another step in that confidence level builder for sure. I know this for a fact. This is why I like to go to yoga. Like, I can learn a new trick and it makes me feel like, oh, I'm not super flexible, but you know what? I can do this cool move now. One more party trick for my book. Isn't it cool to know things? It's cool to be able to do things. Like, don't limit those abilities. Keep investing in you. Number 4, make sure the people you hype up are mostly reciprocating and they do support you back. They give you something too. And I know, like, there are going to be people that cannot give you exactly that 50-50 at that time, but support does go 2 ways. Rivers that flow one way only carry things one way. You need people that are going to help you feel good on the times that you're not feeling good, that can reach out to you in your lowest moments, that can pick you up when you're feeling like a little piece of poo. I just need you to remember that. I've had a ton of friendships that weren't this way, and you want to hype people up, but it's hard to hype people up when you're not feeling reciprocated. So be you 100% and give all that you can, but if you need to take a step back, okay, you do that, but just make sure it's reciprocated. You feel? Let's do this. How to find the hype girl squad. This is a hard one. How to find the hype girl squad, which is pretty hard. I think the older we get, the harder it is. It is important to have friends who support your goals and understand you. They aren't pushy. They don't gaslight you. They don't bully you into doing things that don't align. Like, these are people that you want in your hype squad circle. These are people that are open. You also need to be more open. You have to be more and get deeper into, like, you have to be more real, get into deeper conversations, and just get out of your bubble. Like, try new things. Didn't I say that? You also have to not be afraid to close doors to relationships that feel hard to manage and seem like more work than what you want. I call these high maintenance relationships, and I do not love these. I do have a few of these, and the ones that I have are mostly like family, but I also think that if I have a high maintenance friend, the value is there. They're like a Gucci bag in my friendship collection. And I keep a lot of low maintenance people around, and I have a handful of those, but my low maintenance friends are like Gucci bags too, except for they're classics. I think it's important to make sure you don't need a lot of things. You need a small hype girl squad, and you need to make sure that they feel good to you. If you're not a Gucci girl, I'm not a Gucci girl. I don't even know why I use that, but I'm like a secondhand girl. Give me a fanny pack. But, you want to make sure that your friendships are not more work. Everybody is working together. If they, like, for example, if they rarely check in, but you check in all the time. Like, if you're always messaging them and finding out if they're doing okay, but they don't ever do that to you. These are things you really need to check in. I do have some friendships that I've kind of dropped the ball on because I just didn't feel like the value was both ways. And I think that's okay if that has happened to you. Sometimes friendships do fade, and when you're not really interested in what's going on, their life isn't aligning with yours, their interests aren't colliding with yours, it's normal. Like, not all friendships are going to be for a lifetime, and you will see who shows up when they need you, and you will see who shows up and claps for you in the times that are important. You will see who thinks of you first when you get invited to things first, and you're not a secondhand thought. I think a lot of the actions that people put in are a good indication of what they bring to the table. The realness and the true colors are always exposed. So make sure you're following and you can see those people and how they're reciprocating. Drop what you need, pick up what you need, and follow what you need. Just make sure that you're feeling happy in whatever you're getting and giving back to. I think it's super important that you feel happy because you're going to feel cheated, you're going to have resentment, you're going to have feelings about things if you're not getting what you want in return. So the coolest thing about human experience is that we get to experience it. Sometimes the emotions, sometimes the emotions, the feelings get in the way, but like what is for you is for you. And what is for you will come for you. You can manage the feelings, stand tall, cheer for other people who are doing great things while still being happy and living out your best life. You can do all of this and still live out your best life. Why is that so hard for some of us to figure that out? My next episode, I've got my first guest, and I'm super excited for this. We're going to be talking about what it's like to be child-free. My friend Rachel joins in on this conversation because she got her tubes tied, and I am very fascinated. She's going to talk about her process, the story, what it's like dating with her tubes tied, and a lot of other little random things like serial killers, kids growing up in this world, and why people think it's selfish to not want kids. We're also going to add a sprinkle of some random topics, so just tune in for this. I'm really excited for Rachel to join me because she's a true to herself human, and I can't wait for her to share that. Don't miss it. Just make sure you're following and subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to review, like, whatever you do here to help this podcast grow. And I'll remind you again that new episodes are every Wednesday. I will be dropping one a week. Yeehaw, baby. I do not know why I just did that because I do not yeehaw. But anyway, I'd love to hear what you think. If you could just drop a 5-star review, connect with me on Instagram or on YouTube at Without a Doubt the Podcast. It's that simple. Send me a message. Send me some love. Keep me going. The motivation is legit. It does help. Thanks for being here. Without a doubt, you are a badass. Don't forget it. Signing off. It's your girl, Mad.